Feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp tank.
Welcome to the post-show wrap-up of the Shrimp Tank. I'm Brad Berger, along with my co-host Dan Whedon. And our guest today is Kevin Briscoe with CFO Selections. We just had an intriguing and fun conversation with Kevin. To listen to the entire podcast, visit us at shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle or subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. We're always interested in your feedback, so please do not forget to rate us. So, Kevin, I think one of the big misconceptions out there, and it's certainly something I learned in our conversation today, and that is, would you please explain what is the difference between a comptroller and a CFO?
Sure. Yeah, it's a common misconception about where you draw the line between those, but a controller is really generally compliance oriented. And if you think about your building as your business as a building, they tend to be walls inward, rearward facing, looking at what's happened and reporting on what's happened. A CFO, by contrast, is forward looking, tends to be walls out, really strategizing about where the business is headed, and ends up generally being your liaison with third parties outside the business. Both really, really important roles for an organization. But you hear the titles and it's not always clear where does one start and the other pick up.
So, during the podcast, Kevin, we talked a lot about the PPP, not a lot, but we spent some time discussing it because obviously it's timely. But I think what's important now, and you mentioned this, so everybody listening to the whole podcast, is there's an opportunity now for CEOs and business owners to pivot outside of responding and kind of running like that proverbial hamster and into a recovery. What thoughts do you have on how CEOs can best make that pivot?
Yeah, I appreciate the chance to embellish this a bit. The reality is, while the PPP is still upon us and they're still navigating it, the reality is we're coming to the end of that phase of recovery. And what CEOs need to be doing is looking to what's next, really beginning to think about where is my business headed? How do I plan for that? And to say very semantically, how do I create a cash plan and a cash forecast that helps my business not only survive, but thrive? I know for certain that the key financial organizations that support these CEOs' businesses, i.e. your bank and other forms of lenders, they are going to be looking to you to have a plan as we come out of this. If you're looking for new borrowing, or more importantly, looking to substantiate why your existing loan package and loan covenants are something that you can manage, they're going to want to hear what that forecast looks like. I also mentioned we have a tool that we put on our website. You can find it at cfoselections.com. It's a cash forecasting tool, so really cleverly named, I know, but we are able to help you think very simply and straightforwardly about what the influencers are on cash for your business. That, more than anything, I think is going to be where CEOs need to be pivoting.
Well, Kevin, if I'm an entrepreneur or a business owner, who am I as a candidate for somebody who would be looking to have an independent, potentially part-time CFO?
Yeah, I think the reality is any small to mid-sized company could stand to benefit from strategic thinking around the financial aspects of their business. Now, the reality is lots of business owners have really strong financial backgrounds. It's part of what made them CEOs. They may or may not need access to somebody with the talent we have, but where I mentioned that differentiation between controller and CFO, if you're an organization that has a really strong controller and somebody whose reporting is very, very good, you may in fact have a gap in terms of someone focusing on where the business is headed. That's a perfect example of someone that could stand to benefit from CFO selection services. If you need any kind of help thinking about how your business operates financially, or you have any uncertainty in that space whatsoever, you don't get your financials on time, you're concerned about errors and how they're produced, any of those elements, those are all great candidates for us to have a conversation. We may or may not be the right resource, but we'd love to help you think about how to solve those issues.
Sure.
Well, speaking about having those conversations, somebody watching right now or listening to the podcast would say, I need to talk to somebody from CFO Selections. How would they do that?
Yeah, so best way to reach us, go to our website, cfoselections.com. You can find me and my contact information, my phone number's there, my email address is there, and there's a variety of great information to help you think about your business differently in our blog posts, as well as with some of the tools that I mentioned as well. So go to the website, cfoselections.com.
Well, once again, this is just a taste of what you can expect by listening to the entire podcast. Visit shrimptankpodcast.com/Seattle or subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Podcasts. We'd love to hear from you, so please do not forget to rate us.
Well, we will be back on June 10th. Brad and I certainly hope you have a great Memorial Day weekend and enjoy. We'll be back on June 10th with our guest, Don Morrison from Traction Space. Please join us then. But for right now, the hay is in the barn.
I've been feeling like a shark in a shrimp tank. Big fish, small pond in the shrimp